We're gonna do a little desert tortoise with a desert scene on the inside. Gonna be honest with you, after I did the rays of the sun, I thought it was a bit too much, so I might leave the sky white today. We'll see when we get there. But we're gonna need a piece of paper, and I'm going to do it sideways so that I have room for my tortoise walking. I'll start in pencil so that I can sketch and change things easily before we go over to ink. We're going to ignore all these little bumps and subtle shapes, and we're going to go for the big shape first. If we just look at that big curve and kind of a flat bottom, I can do that on my own paper over here. Big curve, leaving a little space on the left side for the head. Kind of a flattish bottom to it. Sketch lightly. I usually have to sketch a little darker so that it shows up on camera. But you can see I'm making lots and lots of lines and just getting that general shape of the shell. Next, we're going to start adding the legs. So this back leg is shooting out at a diagonal, and these tortoises have some pretty long legs to get around, longer than I had supposed. So I'm going to make kind of a diagonal, sort of rectangular shape sticking out the back there. Again, we're going to ignore the little toes. We'll ignore little bumps for knees and things. We're just getting the real basic shapes down first. Then I'm going to jump over to this leg that's near the front, and I'll sketch in another rectangular shape, slanting the opposite diagonal, going to the left. These are going to be on about the same line because they're the same distance from us. So we don't want one shorter than the other. And we'll go ahead and add the other back leg that's a little farther away, and so it's a little higher on the paper. So I'm not going to take it all the way down to the line. I'm going to go a little bit above the line. Stick in another leg right there. Another kind of rectangle shape, very sketchy, very loose, very light. And then we'll work on the head and this lifted front leg. So for this lifted leg, you can look at this white shape in between the legs and see that there's a rounded part at the top and then it gets a little skinnier at the bottom. That white shape, hey there, even though it's not part of the leg, it's the space in between, it still helps us to put it in the right spot. So I've got this curve right underneath there for that starting of the leg. Coming around, back up, and diagonally back into that shell. Oh, I forgot my music. Let's go ahead and have some drawing music. then for the tortoise head, we're going to have the neck sticking way out past the leg, past the shell. So I've got my fingers way back on my pencil, so it's nice and easy to do these big lines by just making small movements with my fingers. And then the head shape, we're just going to start with an ellipse. Just a flattened out circle for starters. Then we'll zoom in a little closer and start putting in some of the more detailed lines to make this tortoise head. First thing we're going to do is to figure out, where do we put the mouth? We can see that there's a smaller lower jaw and a bigger top portion. So I need to make my mouth a little closer to the bottom. Really skinny mouth opening. Then we have a small rounded off portion in front, very tiny, and a longer rounded off portion for the bottom jaw here. A little bit at a diagonal, not exactly straight across. Any lines that you don't want, you can grab your eraser and get rid of those. And for this top portion, we're going to have the bigger line in front, bigger than this bottom line here. Then we'll angle backwards a little bit. So we've got a little bit of a point right here for the nose. Then we'll flatten out the top of the head, maybe even curve it a little bit downward. A little line to the back. And then we'll flow right back into that neck. And as you can see, there's a little notch that separates out the shell shape from the neck shape. So I'm going to take that neck and go right into the shell, and then turn around and come back and erase out that portion of the line. Then we've got some subtle direction changes. We've got a diagonal, and then we go up a little bit, and then we go that way. So we've got 1, 2, 3 different directions there. I'm going to start by leaning it in. Long line, shorter line going a little bit up, and then another long line going toward the top. So we did 1, 2, 3. Now we've got one more little bump right at the top. If you can't fit all these bumps on the shell, don't worry about it. It'll still look like a tortoise. Then I've got a short line and a long line for that next bump. Short, long. Not quite that deep of a V. Don't want my shell to look damaged. Then we've got another one right here. And one final one before we go to the edge of the shell. So here's my final bump of a short line, long line, and then out for the rim of the shell. I'm going to tuck it right back in where it came from, right back into the leg here with one little connector line. And I can erase everything on the inside, so I'm getting rid of all of this. And on the front part of this leg, we're going to add a backwards letter L for a little knee that's lower than this line on the paper. So this one should be higher on the paper, this one's lower on the paper. If you need to adjust the size of the leg or the length of the leg, go right ahead. That's why we use pencils, so it'll be easy to adjust as we go. Then I'll add 2 little bumps on the front for those tortoise toes. I'll add the toes on this one too. This one big toe, one littler toe. Because it's in a sideways view, we can't see the other toes. And we'll have another little bump in front for the knee. It's bending right there. This one has 3 little bumps for those claws in front. For digging, I believe. 1, 2, and 3. There's a tiny little direction change in the front where this one's coming a little more forward diagonally and this one's just a little bit more straight up and down. Then for this foot that's being picked up, let me change our view here, zoom in a little closer. First thing I'm going to do is start adding straighter lines to this curve that I did before. That was just to get me started, but now I'm looking at these lines, how there's a long line here and then a short one. That check mark is something we see a lot in drawing. I'll make my lines a little straighter, erase those curved lines. Then we can see it goes pretty much straight down and then curves around for the foot. So I'll bring that straight down, curve it around for the foot. And we'll add some bumps for the toes. I've got 1, 2, 3, and then 2 little claws at the end. 1, 2, 3 little bumps, a little claw, and another little claw. So that's the entire silhouetted shape. We can erase everything on the inside and take a look at how it will be when we put it in ink. And this is our last chance to change anything that might be bothering us. So right now I have a little bit of a bother with this line going down here and this line that goes down here, but the tummy line is way up here. I want to pretend that these connect. So I can give myself a guideline and then change my shell to come a little bit lower. If you lose some detail in the legs, that's okay. Or you might want to take the time to lower your legs. I'm going to pause here for 5 minutes just to make sure you guys have plenty of time to make your outline the way you want it.
He has no tail.
He doesn't in this one. You can add a tail if you like, right out of the bottom of the shell there. Four more minutes for you to fix up your outline. If you like your outline and you're ready to go to ink, go ahead and get your pen, your thin Sharpie, whatever marker or felt tip pen you have, and you can start working on your outline. Three more minutes to fix up your outline. If you're having trouble, maybe the head looks funny and you don't know why, Just let me know. I'll go over some things for you to look for, or any other part of your tortoise. Two more minutes. One more minute. All right, and we're going to start outlining right over our pencil lines with ink. I'm still going to pretend I'm drawing it, meaning I'm lifting my pen very often. Every time I come to the end of the line, I pick up my pen. I'm going to spin my paper to where it's the most comfortable. And just slowly but surely work my way around. Whoops, I missed that one. That's okay. Try not to hold your pen in a death grip. Try to keep it very loose and very light and wiggly. Let the pen do the work. You just have to drag it in the right direction. Like you're holding a feather. try to keep my arm off the table as much as possible, or just lean my wrist very, very lightly on the table. That way I'll have my big muscles to move around on these big lines instead of having my hand locked down on the table and I can only use my little finger muscles to move. Once you have your outline all the way done, make sure it's dry before you come back and erase any extra pencil. Or you can save this erasing step for the very last. I like to get some of my lines out of here so I can see what I'm doing. And as is often the case with our pictures in a pictures, we've got the landline and everything below that is black. So we're going to decide where the ground line is, and it can be up to you. You don't have to copy mine exactly, but I'm going to pick where I want this landline to be. And you can do it in pencil first if you want to, but I'm going to go straight to ink. Try to get both of them on here. I can see that the land comes a little bit above where this leg is lifting, so I know it's going to hit right there. And I can make it bumpy because it's the desert. There's rocks and sand shifting all over the place. Go right across. And you can see a couple of times my lines go astray. That's okay, it's going to be all black anyway. So those will get covered up. So everything below this line is black. Anytime you're waiting for me to give you the next step, you can come down here and just start filling it in with black. We're going to go ahead and start with this cactus that comes right up into the neck. Again, you can do pencil first if you prefer. I'm going to work straight in pen, and I'm going to make kind of a curved tube that comes down from the neck right down into the ground line. Remember, I don't have to worry about lines that overlap because it'll be black down there anyway. That's going to be this main part of the cactus that goes straight up. And then I'm going to add a little cactus arm by looping it up, coming around and going back. And maybe another one is growing out a little higher. Again, it doesn't matter if your lines overlap, that'll be filled in black later. I put little X's to remind myself that's going to be black. If you have a bigger marker, filling it in might be pretty quick. Just be careful around those edges, especially the outline of the turtle. You don't want that to go over that outline, so be very slow and very careful on that edge. And there's one great looking cactus. Let's make another one. Over on the other side of the shell, we've got one that's a little skinnier and a little taller. I'm going to start way up at the top of the shell, come down all the way into the ground, and do it again. come all the way down into the ground. Whoops, I want to try to keep it kind of even. Anything on the inside, that's okay. It's going to be filled in black anyway. And there's a very low cactus arm sticking out here. On the other side, you can have the white space separated out, or you can just overlap it. Maybe these are being overlapped so you don't have that white space on the inside. I'll show you both ways. If you want the white space, you just come out a little bit. And if you don't, you just put partial growths overlapping, so there's a little bit of a couple of bumps there, and the whole thing gets filled in black. Up to you, whichever style you like best. And wherever there's an empty space, if you think another one would look good, go ahead and add it. You don't have to just copy me. Next, we're going to make this little plant that looks a little bit like a tuft of grass. So pick somewhere near your cactus, and I'll start with the one that goes straight up, skinny little blade. And I'll do that over and over, and they'll get shorter and shorter, fanning out from the center. They can crisscross, that's fine. You can make one that's a little bent if you want to. Try to get closer up on that. And then after you make your blades of grass, you just fill it all in. After you fill it in black, you might see some emptier spaces that need one more blade or two. You can add those in. And next we're going to draw the coyote. So I'm going to switch over to my pencil just in case I need to erase or adjust something. You might need to sharpen it also. Next to our desert plant here, or somewhere a little distance from our cactus, we're going to pick where our coyote is going to be yipping and yowling here. To start off, we're going to look at just the front legs. They're not that long, they're getting overlapped by the ground. So I'm going to stick my front legs here, just a little rectangular shape. This is really both front legs slightly overlapped, so it'll be a little thicker than you think it is for the one leg. And again, I'm going to look at the space that is not the coyote. I can see it goes up on the tummy there, comes down for the leg, and then comes forward a little bit. So that's going to help me out with my shape. So I'll go up for the tummy, back for the leg, and then a tiny little one forward. So we're putting that little point on our shape. And there's another little space in between the back legs that looks a little bit like a shark fin. That's made with straight lines only. So I went up and back and then made that little point. Remember, this shape is the space in between the legs, so it's nothing of the coyote itself, it's that space in between. So to draw the back of the back leg, I need to add another line going up and a little bit forward. Then we'll have the tail, but actually we're gonna skip the tail for a minute and we're gonna add the body so we can tell how tall our coyote is supposed to be. So I'm gonna go up a little bit and add a rectangular shape to the legs there, just for starters. And you might have seen this part where it's flat on the back and then goes down into the tail. There's that little slope. So if this is the back here, we're gonna go down a little bit past that rectangle and make the tail come out there. You can round off that corner if you like. Then for the neck, we have a little diagonal line right above the front leg. So right above this line of the front leg here, that's where the neck is going to go diagonally forward just a little bit.
Hey, are you okay?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Am I not sounding okay?
Just I think maybe the audio glitched or something because it sounded like you were like breathing really heavy, really fast.
Oh, no, not me. I don't think so. My microphone is pretty far away, so I don't think you can hear me breathe.
Yeah, so So yeah, that was kind of scary, but I guess it was just a glitch.
Yep,
It's like
it's been a
you're
glitch.
outside in the wind, kind of.
Oh, is it? Maybe my fan.
A little
is,
bit. It might be your fan.
It might be my fan.
What are you,
I'll let
hot
you
or
guys.
something?
Yeah, it's a little hot, but I'll go ahead and turn that off real quick.
Oh
while you
no,
guys are
leave it
working
on. Leave it
That
on.
was it, because I
Is
feel
it?
like I'd still be hearing it.
Okay. So we've got the neck, and then we're going to make this ear that comes back a little bit. Just under the little point right there. Then we're going to dip down for that part of the eyebrow and the nose. And start the little howling mouth there. I think my nose got a little bit too pointy. Use a smaller eraser. And then we've got this nice S-curve sweeping down to the chest. Right to those front legs. And since we've done this in pencil, we can take a look and see, is my coyote's head too small? Is the ears too big? Is the tail too short? And you can adjust wherever it looks like it needs adjusting. I think mine has maybe a small head. I think I'm gonna make that a tiny bit bigger. You can put another point for the other ear if you want to try that. Or if you'd rather have all four legs showing, you can add a fourth leg there. Make that one skinnier now that it's not two. You always have choices. If something doesn't look quite the way you want it, maybe pick something to change. Let's see if that makes it a little better. So that coyote will eventually be all black also, but we need to put in some of these desert mountains. Again, you can work in pencil first if you prefer, but I'm going to go straight to pen. Instead of the kind of triangle mountains we've been doing before, we're going to do these that have a little bit like stair steps on them and have a little bit of a wiggle to them as they go. So grabbing my pen, I'm going to start with one that comes right over the back of my coyote, and I'll make those kind of little stair steps. You can go right through coyote, he'll be black eventually. And then you can flatten out as you go down. You can go right through the cactus, maybe come back up a little bit. Whoops, I went right off the camera, sorry about that. Don't worry about drawing right over the things you've drawn. Cactus, coyote, all of them, you can draw right through them. And to make a nice overlap, I'll start somewhere on the side of this little mountain, and I'll come up into another one that's maybe a little bit taller or a little bit smaller, just different in some way from the first one. I'm just wiggling my pen around. And again, if you want to do it in pencil first, that's totally okay. On this other side, maybe there's another big one. Comes right down into that one. Overlapping. And I don't want my tortoise head to be boring, so I'm going to put some mountains over there too. I think I'll take this one, pretend this one keeps going right through the cactus and goes up and up, down and down. Up. And then in my original, I had another short little plateau right in the foreground here. So I'm going to go ahead and put that again here. This one's a little flatter on top and then comes down like those steps right through the coyote. Remember, everything below this line is solid black. My coyote is going to be solid black. Any place that these mountains are crossing into these other shapes, they'll be hidden away as soon as we fill in the black of the silhouettes. And to differentiate these mountains, this one I did them all straight up and down. I kind of regret that. I think I'm going to go ahead and start changing the direction of the lines on this one. So in this one in the front, this little tiny guy, I'll go diagonally like this and just fill it up with some stripes. Trying to keep my stripes pretty close together so it gets a little darker looking. Then on the next set of mountains, I'm going to change the direction and put them a little farther apart. Remember, you can go straight through your coyote, no big deal. Or if you'd prefer to use your pencil and use different kinds of grays, you can do that too. We only did that a few times in some of the jungle pieces. You can go right through the plants, right through the cactus. And then for those ones in the back, I'll go straight up and down and I'll put even fewer lines so there's more white space in between them and they look a little farther away. Again, just going right through the coyote, that's fine. Don't want to go into the other mountain though. And as you can see, once I start filling in my coyote, all those stripes that were looking so messy disappear. Last thing, we have the sun scorching above the desert and an eagle flying right over there. So for the eagle, I'm going to go straight in pen, but you can use pencil if you like. And I'm going to go from one tip of the wing to the other tip of the wing, so I know how big my bird will be. That was a lot of B words there. There's my curve. That's how big the wingspan is. And then I'll put the head a little bit closer to the bottom, just a little bit. So I've got one longer line on top and a little bit shorter line on bottom. And again, that's just a little shark fin shape. I'm not too worried about the beak and the head being detailed. It's very tiny at this point. Then on the tips here, I'll make 3 feathers. 1, 2, 3, getting shorter as they go down. 1, 2, 3. And I'll just connect those up. And fill it in black, of course. And then we'll have a little tail that I want to look like is connected to the head. So from the head, I'm just going to hover my pen. Actually, you can just draw right through it. It's all black. And stick a little tail on the other end. And like I said, I think the lines for the sun are a little too much for me. So I'm just going to kind of, draw a circle for the sun here, because they'll have to have some shading on this side. I messed up, but that's okay. We'll make it work. The sun in the sky, but if you like the light beams, go ahead and draw them in. You might have noticed there's also a couple little tiny cactus and plants sprinkled on the mountains that are very far away. So we're going to make them smaller, but it's the same thing that we did for the big ones. We're making that middle portion and then adding those little cactus arms. Or you can do another grassy type plant. Color right over the stripes of the mountains. And that's about it, just to fill in all that black at the bottom. There's about 1 more minute to work on your own, then we'll go ahead and share. If you can't get it all finished, don't worry. We just like to see how far you've gotten. Oh, and that is time. If you are ready to share, just hold it up to the camera and I will spotlight it for everyone. All right, looks like Hadika's ready. Let me replace the spotlight. Whoa. So cool.
Let's see how you did so fast.
Yeah, you were done even faster than I was. Excellent. What about Callista? Are you ready to share? Almost, maybe? Anything you want to share, Mickey?
No.
Okay. Woo! Look at those beautiful clouds.
Oh,
in the
that's
sky.
great.
That's looking really good.
Oh, you put clouds in the sky now. That was smart.
Yeah,
Good job.
I like it. Ooh, that one's coming out good
Ooh.
too.
Great, Eagle.
I like that coyote. Nice job, guys. That just leaves Kristen then.
Kristen's so slow today. It doesn't look like
Oh,
much.
hey, Chris, are you going to be in the next class?
Ooh.
There I am.
Those are some good looking mountains.
It will be good when I get it all done.
It will be good when it's all done.
Show it again.
What was that?
I didn't see it. Can you show it again? Oh, okay.
And
Ta-da.
the sketch.
All right, that's it. This was the last picture in a picture class. So I will not be seeing you next week, but I hope you guys continue to draw your own picture in a picture. It's getting pretty easy now, right? After all these weeks, you just get the outline of an animal, fill it in with some mountains, some trees. It's getting pretty old hat, I hope, and you can do it on your own. So
Fun
that's
hat. It's a fun hat.
it's a
I love
fun
this
hat.
hat.
So that's it. See you guys. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.